Hello there. Today we're going to look at the evolution of Slave 1. Now this vehicle has had some resurgence lately due to not only the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back hitting theaters, it also has been shown with Boba Fett's return in the show The Mandalorian. Fantastic show. I just love it. Anyway, normally with something like this, I would start off with the vintage version, but this is not a vehicle that I had as a kid. So we're going to look at the version that Hasbro first put out in 1996 in the Shadows of the Empire line, because Boba Fett and Slave 1 did appear in that novel. But this is basically the vintage mold. It's just painted a little differently, slightly better stickers, but all the features are exactly what you got in the vintage release in, I think it was 1981. But anyway, so you have the rotating cannons up here. And they look basically like that. You also had this ramp that comes down to show the cargo area. Now, they had a different Han Solo and Carbonite. I update everything when I can with the best version, so I open this up here and show the cargo area. I have a different Han and Carbonite than that came with this. I think it was very similar to it was basically the vintage mold that came with it, and it's somewhere. I think one of my kids might have it, but this also has. Let's see if we can see it in here, but this rotating cockpit here where you can put your pilot or put Boba Fett and then move them up into the cockpit area. Now one thing that was interesting about this as I put it together, this was the first vehicle in the Kenner and Hasbro line, or I should say just the Kenner line for vintage, that had this gravity feature. Now it's got this handle on the back. You'll notice a wire here. I hang this on the wall, which you'll see because the next video I'm going to do is my collection room tour. I was waiting on a big item which I got for Christmas, and you'll get to see that in there. Anyway, but here's this gravity feature, so you can hold it like this. Oops, let me pull back a little bit, and you can see that the wings stay level. Now there's a trigger right there that will hold it in place, and then when you release the trigger, it'll go back where it was, so it could rotate for flight. But the detail on this was really pretty good for its day. I think it still holds up fairly well. And that's a good look at the vintage / Power of the Force 2 version. And next we'll move on to the next iteration of this vehicle. Okay, so here is the second iteration of Slave 1. This was Hasbro's release for Attack of the Clones in the Saga collection. This came out in 2002. And so some of the features on this are a little different than the vintage or the Shadows of the Empire version. They've also updated the sculpt here. Like these cannons are a little more screen accurate. You also have this little feature down here. Let's see if I'll bring it up here. So you have this which flips over so you can see the tracking device that Obi-Wan puts on it. And then there's a third part where the tracking device is destroyed. And so you don't have the gravity feature anymore, so it doesn't matter. But you have to move these by hand, but they do move together. There is a handle on the back like the other for play. I have a wire on this because I hang it on the wall. You have some extra missiles here. I'll show you where they go in a minute. But again, just take a look at the back here. Decent looking back. I like the sculpt. I like the detail on this. And don't open the cargo area here because they've put this for this feature here with these missiles, which you push out with this. And then by twisting this knob, which I'll do, you can see it fires the missiles, and I'll just have it go into my hand. I don't really want to shoot them across the room. And then there's this button here, which will drop the seismic charges, and there are 4 of these. I'll put this down. And these are what the seismic charges look like. Not quite movie accurate, but still fun little play feature. And then again, instead of the movable cockpit like you had before, bring this in, you have a cockpit for 3 figures here. So I have the young Boba Fett, the Saga line, and then this version of Jango. It was the Sith Evolutions version. Those are probably the best version of Jango Fett out there. And again, the cockpit could hold 3 people, but you know, movie accurate wise, I just put the 2 in there. And so again, this was the next iteration. They did do a Boba Fett version in the original trilogy collection. It started in 2004. I believe that's when it was released. And again, it's very much the same vehicle, just repainted for the Empire Strikes Back version that you see. And next we will look at, which is most likely is the definitive version of Slave One. Okay, so here's where camera work is going to be a lot of fun because this thing's so big, try to keep it in frame. So this is the vintage collection version of Slave One. This is the Boba Fett version. This is actually the 3rd release of this vehicle. The first was in 2010. It was an Ultimate Battle Pack, and it was the Rise of Boba Fett. It was part of the Clone Wars series. It was a battle pack. It came with this larger Slave One. It was obviously repainted like the Jango version, and it came with a Jedi Starfighter, a young Boba Fett figure, Bosk, I think Mace Windu, and an Anakin Skywalker. Now, it was something I did not pick up at the time, but that was rave reviews for that vehicle. It was released, the Boba Fett version from the original trilogy as an Amazon exclusive in 2013. That sold fairly well. Very hard to get on the secondary market. But then there was this one that Hasbro put out this year, earlier in 2020, and luckily, if you missed it then, it is now available again on Hasbro Pulse in the vintage collection. It comes in an excellent vintage style box. It's upgraded with better weathering. Here we have these cannons these move independently, and they have a missile launcher on them, which I never really use, but there's a button on the back. And then I'll go through the inside in a little bit, but I'll just take a look. You can see the painting on this is very well done, and the weathering on the back. I mean, this is just absolutely fantastic. And then you have the more movie accurate seismic charges on the side here. The look of them, because they actually get dropped out from here in the movie and in The Mandalorian. But they're there. There's one that's supposed to be on this side. I dropped it somewhere. I don't know. I haven't been able to locate it. And I'm trying to find a replacement probably. That's when it'll turn up. It's usually how that works. So we have here the cockpit. And this is a rotating cockpit again, which now, after watching this season 2 of The Mandalorian, it's completely inaccurate for this part to rotate, but not really going to complain. Holds 3 figures. I need to weigh down the back so it stays level and like that, but not a big deal. It displays quite well. Then there's the cargo area for the Han Solo and Carbonite to go here. And I will show you the interior features, which are really nice. One other thing that the latest release has in the Vintage Collection that didn't come with the previous 2 releases is this stand, which is absolutely fantastic just for display purposes. It just put it in flight mode. It's great. And so I will take this off here. Let me move the stand. Whoops. So here, I'll show you this one. They brought back the gravity feature for it, so with the cockpit it rotates, if you can see there. But what's also interesting with it is that it will lock, put it like this, put these down, and now it locks it in place. So now, if you notice, the cockpit doesn't move when you rotate the vehicle. So again, you have this, they brought back the cargo loading ramp, and then this area flips open. So you have a decent interior here. Tilt it up so you can see a little better. Some stickers inside, and that's how you have the cockpit right there. And you also have this section here that opens, and you can pull out this, which is another thing for put your quarry in. It fits very well right there. It opens like that. And again, this was, $150 for the Vintage Collection, and compared to, the secondary market prices, I think it's quite well done. I'm really glad that Hasbro has decided to bring it back. It'll still be in an Empire Strikes Back themed box, not a Mandalorian one. But, I think that's still great that they're offering it again. And again, $150 isn't something to take lightly for these, but if you're trying to get one of these on the secondary market, like I said before, it's just, they're going for a premium. Hopefully that price will actually come down a little bit with the re-release. But again, a great vehicle. I highly recommend it. It's just looks great in the collection. And that's all I have for today. So, please like, subscribe if you'd want to. Leave a comment. I always like feedback. And have a wonderful day. This is the way.